Thank you very much. I want to say this is tough. Nikki got me all teary, and it's hard to start when I'm all like weepy. That was such a wonderful story. I'm excited to be here. My name is Jeff Havens. I am very excited to be here. I'm excited for you because we're going to have a really good time. I'm going to share with you a portion of my somewhat unorthodox motivational address, Uncrapify Your Life, where I promise to motivate the crap out of you. And the reason I call it an unorthodox address is because unlike the others you're going to hear from today, and unlike the others you've heard from before, mine focuses on exactly what not to do. All of my advice is terrible. It's awful. So let's not waste another minute. Now, I am going to cover a lot of the things you have become accustomed to in the typical motivational speech. I have done my homework. So there is going to be, for example, a cheesy acronym where I treat you like children for a while to help you remember something you would otherwise very easily forget with a clever little mnemonic. Along those lines, there will also be an insufferable rhyming phrase. There is usually a group exercise as well. And I know when I say that, looking at the hate in your eyes, that most of you don't like that. Most of you don't want to do it. You're thinking, that's going to be terrible. It's not. You're going to love it. And if you don't, I don't care. There's going to be a moment of forced applause. I'm going to make you clap whether you want to or not. Motivational speakers, generally very egotistical. We like to know people like what we're doing. My ego's so big, in fact, that there's a second moment of forced applause. That's right. 2 for the price of none. There's also a random tangent where I cover something entirely unrelated to the reason I will be brought to your organization. And, of course, what kind of motivational speaker would I be? What kind of speaker at all would I be, real or fake, without a shameless plug for my new book? So, got it all, people. Everything that you're used to. And the part that I want to share with you today has to deal with communication. Now, as you already know, communication is an essential element to the running of any successful industry, business, or relationship. And I want to make sure you're good at it. I want to make sure you know how to talk to everybody you come in contact with on a regular basis, not only professionally, but personally as well. By the end of this section of the Uncrapify Your Life program, you are going to know how to be open, honest, forthright, upright, airtight in all of your daily communications. Now, a real motivational speaker gives you advice. Maybe good advice, I don't know. But not me. I'm here to give you permission to do something that I know you are dying to do. Because what we focus on, very simply, in this section, is how to more effectively criticize others. Now, some of you, obviously, you think this sounds awesome. I've been doing this for years. But some of you are unconvinced. Some of you are thinking, this doesn't seem nice. No, that's not the point. The point is to uncrapify your life. Nobody else's. And what could make you feel better than making other people feel bad? You know what I'm talking about. But until now, yours has been an amateur effort, a labor of love perhaps, but hardly a scientific endeavor. Ladies and gentlemen, I am a professional. I have studied this for years, and I am proud to bring to you today the distillation of those efforts. I'm so excited by it, in fact, that I've even got my own acronym. You knew it was coming. It's on there at the chart at the top. Now, the acronym you're already familiar with. Probably it is a word that stands for other words. Examples are as follows. The CAN plan, for example, would be an acronym of some kind. Or perhaps the trust approach, something like that. And let me just tell you, nothing starts with you. Nothing. I racked my brains. I don't even know what that means. I just like the word, okay? I was running late. Anyway. I think you're going to find that my acronym, a little more esoteric perhaps than the ones you're familiar with, but one that I trust, will become a part of your daily vocabulary from this moment forward. Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud, honored, and privileged to present to you here today the MyFabMofa plan. Just say it to yourselves, MyFabMofa. Sounds like a lullaby, doesn't it? And what does it mean? I will tell you what it means. It means make yourself feel awesome by making others feel awful. How much more direct can you be? This is the pathway to joy, bliss, ecstasy, all here for the taking in the MyFabMofa plan. I know some of you obviously think this is fantastic, but others don't. Some of you remain unconvinced. Naysayers here in the audience saying nay. You're saying that's not an acronym, boy? That's not even a word. Fine, you win. These, as you might know, not so easy to come up with. You want to see my first one? Yeah. That. Learn how to tell people how much you really don't like them and have a lot of fun doing it, which is technically correct, but is ridiculously hard to pronounce. So, we're going to go with MyFabMofa. And I know the more that I say MyFab Mofa, the more it's locking itself into your brains, and you're now dying to know what is the MyFab Mofa plan. So I'm going to get to it without any further ado. There are two phases of the MyFab Mofa plan, and the first has to deal with this, the myth of constructive criticism. It's a term you're familiar with, an idea that has somehow developed here in America that criticism is occasionally helpful. It's ridiculous. Who among you has ever said, I've got a great idea. I'm going to go to work today, but I'm not going to do any work. I have a more constructive idea. I'm going to sit at my desk, and I'd like everyone I work with to file through one at a time and share with me all of my faults and flaws. Anyone? Any takers? No. But we have this idea, and it's an idea that you need to exploit. You need to use it to your advantage. So, when you are going to criticize other people, and I know you're going to, you need to begin with one of several introductory phrases that make it sound like you're not trying to be mean. You're actually trying to help the person you're about to insult. That way you will get the most pleasure out of their shock and pain. That's how this works. So I'm going to share with you a list of phrases that work under the MyFab Mofa model. This is not complete, but just to help you get started, 2 words I know you've used before. No offense. Now, let's be honest. We're all friends here. This is a lie. None of you has ever said no offense without following it with something offensive. That's why you say it. And the genius of it is twofold. Number one, you can finish the sentence with anything. But more importantly, if the person you're talking to gets upset, it's their fault. You're not trying to offend them. They're just overly sensitive. It is airtight. And there are a lot of phrases just as effective. Don't take this the wrong way. Like there's another way to take it. About, I don't mean to sound rude. Yes, you do. Here's one of my favorites. This isn't going to sound the way I mean it. You're starting to see, and you can appreciate how awesome these are when you use them back to back. For example, sir, what's your name? I don't care, but help me out. I'm sorry? Tim. Oh, 2 of you. Dave, I know your name, Dave, because you've been up here, but that's fine. Tim, is that correct? Excellent. No offense, but nobody here really likes you. No. I don't mean to sound rude, but I know you're young and we wish you'd consider early retirement. Don't take that the wrong way. I'm having a ball. I don't even know that guy. And judging from some of your laughter, you've wanted to tell him that all day. That's what I'm talking about. That is the power of the MyFab Mofa plan. Now, these phrases work, generic catch-alls. They're good in any situation, but sometimes you want to be situationally specific. And in those cases, I have some phrases for you. For example, show of hands. Who are the parents in the room? Parents? Excellent, excellent. Here's one for you. Now you know I love you. Fantastic to use on the children. And none of you has ever ended it with, so here's a cookie. You understand. If you're a manager, an employee, or a supervisor rather, you have employees underneath you, here's one for you. I appreciate the effort. No, you don't. That one does not end with a bonus. If you get this one, if somebody says this to you, I recommend retaliating with all due respect. Because as you know, the translation for that is pretty much, that. Cursing is optional. I'm not going to do it, but whatever you're comfortable with. I imagine you can't do this one right now, but some of you will be doing this one tonight. This might be the alcohol talking. You can get away with anything when people think you're under the influence. And I lived in Nashville, Tennessee for 9 years, and if you want to add some good old-fashioned Southern flavor to the MyFab Mofa, bless your little heart. Categorically the nicest, meanest thing you can say about anybody. That kid is dumb as a rock, bless his little heart. You understand. So, what I've shown you now is the first phase of the MyFab Mofa plan, how to frame your criticism, how to begin, or in this case end, whatever mean and hurtful thing you want to say. But now it is time to go to the second phase, and that, of course, is the meat of the insult, the heart of the wounding. All you need to do here, folks, is be original. You want to be descriptive. You want to hit people with something they're not anticipating, because you have a lot more fun when you get original. And I will show you the power of that right now. Please turn to the person you're sitting next to. This will be very painless, I promise. Turn to them, look them right in the eyes. You can do this. And repeat after me, I don't like you. Look at that. Look at you. Look at the happiness just skitter across the room. You really enjoyed that. And most of you didn't say it. Most of you just laughed, but some of you did. Some of you leaned past person 1 to get to person 2. And I love that. It's fantastic. But If you don't mind my saying so, your reaction to this was not as impressive as it could be. And the reason for that is not your fault. It's the fault of this sentence. You've said this a million times in your life. You've heard this a million times in your life. It lacks power. Somebody says, I don't like you, it just rolls right off your back. That's why you need to be original. That's where the true joy of the MyFab Mofa comes from. And I will show you the power of that right now. Turn to the same person. This one's fun. You can do it. Look them right in the eye. Repeat after me. Don't take this the wrong way. But I hope you contract an intestinal parasite. See? That's a lot more fun. And once you get good at this, people, once you know how to combine the two pieces of the MyFab Mofa, you'll be able to talk to everybody, confident that you'll know exactly what to say. Now, ordinarily, at this point in my show, we do a group exercise where people come up with their own MyFab Mofa approved insults and then share them with the group. Obviously, don't have time to do that today, but I wanted to share with you creations of former MyFab Mofa graduates, just to give you an idea of how this works. I didn't come up with anything you're about to see on this list. I shared the MyFab Mofa with others, and they came up with some absolute gems that I know are going to provide you the inspiration you need as you begin your own quest for MyFab Mofa glory. This first one, I think, is just amazing. That's a lovely outfit you're wearing. Does it come in your size? I didn't know. It's a punch in the stomach, isn't it? It is wicked and wonderful. There are a lot of others just as effective. A lot of these get directed at me. This one was given to me by a 9-year-old at a family function. Did you get a new haircut or just an estimate? Didn't even bother with the pleasant beginning. And I like the precociousness of this child making fun not only of my appearance, but that I might not have $12 to fix it. I thought that was impressive. And I don't know how many of you are going to get this one, but did anybody grow up playing Oregon Trail on the computer, on the Commodore? Okay, Sarah, this is for you, so laugh hard enough to make up for the rest of them, okay? I mean this nicely, but every time I play Oregon Trail, I create you and let you die of dysentery, which, for those of you who aren't laughing, is the only way to go in that game. So, the purpose of my show, I hope is obvious, is to do the opposite of everything I recommend. This is a very backwards, very satirical approach to the typical motivational model. You've seen a portion of what we talk about with communication, and there's also a portion that talks about personal and professional responsibility, where we discuss how to handle a crisis by learning how to effectively outsource blame. And I don't have time to go into that section for you today, but just to give you an idea of what we talk about in this section, we do have the insufferable rhyming phrase that encapsulates the ideas therein. Don't linger, point the finger. So, again, the purpose is to do the opposite of what I say. I point out things we're all guilty of, make a little bit of fun of it, and of course the message is to not listen to me. I do think it is important that we make fun of other people. I think it is an essential element of a healthy relationship, because you're going to make fun of people. You're going to make fun of them to their face or behind their back. All of us do it. And if you make fun of somebody to their face, it means you have a relationship with that person that's strong enough to withstand whatever attack you're giving to them. I think it is healthy, but I don't think it's the way we should communicate primarily, and most of us do. Most of us are much more comfortable saying you are really annoying me than we are saying you are really important to me. And I think that's unfortunate. I'd like you to remember back to the first time you told your husband or your wife, before they were your husband or your wife, that you loved them. I know, however it worked for you, that it was a hugely emotional moment, because you're 99% sure they're going to say, I love you too, but not totally. And if you're like me, you've had one experience with a girl where you said, I love you, and she said, oh, and that was awesome. So, in my case, I met my wife in college, and I had just gotten out of a disastrous relationship. I wasn't really looking for a relationship. I was kind of looking to play the field, but my wife's not that kind of girl, and I developed feelings for her, and I was like, this is annoying, because that's not what I want right now. So, like every idiot, I thought if I don't say anything, the feelings will go away. And that doesn't happen. You know that, because the feelings build and build and build, and eventually you'll explode if you don't say how you feel to this person. And in my case, with my wife, I had to do, and before I could say I love you, I had to get ridiculously drunk. We were at a, it's the truth. We were, because honesty comes out then, and we were at a party, and she had been drinking too. We went back to her apartment, and I will never forget this, because she opens the door to her apartment, and she looked at me, and one eye was really open, and one was fighting, you know. And she said, I love you. And that's how big a chicken I am. She had to say it first. And I said, I love you too, because now all the pressure's off. And I don't know what your story was like, but I know whatever it was very emotional, very powerful. And then you say it once, and the floodgates are open. You say, I love you all the time. And that's why new couples are so annoying, because they're like, I love you, I love you. It is called to say I love you. And we're like, shut up, but they don't. They can't. They've wanted to say it for this long, and they did. Now they're making up for that time where they meant it but couldn't say it. And you've all done this before. And then you get past that point, you shorten it a little bit. You say, love you. Yeah, I love you too, whatever. And then you all get to a point. You've said it a million times to your husband or your wife. You get to a point where you don't say it because you mean it. You say it because you're supposed to. I know you've all been on the phone with your beloved when they're annoying the hell out of you. And all you want to do on God's earth is hang up, not have to talk to them, pretend for 10 minutes that you're single. But you know you can't unless you say, I love you, because otherwise you'll have a conversation about that when you get home. See, I'm not lying. So you do. You do. You're like, okay, I'm going to go now. Or, okay, yeah, I'll go to the bank. I love you. Bye. And you hang up. And what has happened over the course of a million repetitions of this sentence is that it has turned from the most powerful thing you could ever say to anybody into something you occasionally throw away. It's something completely meaningless. So imagine when you go home today and you see your husband or your wife, don't say I love you to them because you've said that a million times. Say I adore you. Say I cherish you. I'm not asking you to change how you feel. I'm not asking you to change what you mean. That would be ridiculous. I'm asking you to change one word. Most of you won't. It's hard. You imagine doing it, and some of that nervousness and uncertainty comes back. What are they going to say to me if I say I cherish you? And the reason for that is I'm talking about changing habits. And that's a very, very difficult thing for most of us to do. We form patterns of speech because they're comfortable. We know the outcome given a certain input. And that's why we say what we say all the time. And the application for business is not to tell everyone you work with that you adore them. That'd be awkward. But rather, when you give compliments to those that you work with, you probably do it in the same 4 or 5 ways all the time. All of us do it. Nice job, well done, way to go, good work. Whatever you say all the time because you've fallen into familiar habits. And the people you say them to do not notice anymore. Because I've heard good job a million times in my life. It doesn't register. Just like I don't like you, it just rolls off my back. But if you take the time to come up with something unique, if you take the time to come up with something inventive, they will notice. That was very impressive, extraordinary work. I'm quite pleased with what you've done. People will hear that. I can guarantee you that everybody's favorite part of my show is coming up with insults. Everybody loves it. We do it for like 5 minutes, and then people trade them back and forth. They're in tears sometimes laughing so hard. And a lot of them are inside jokes that I don't get, but they get a lot, and they're really, really funny. And I think given the eagerness with which people go to town coming up with insults for 5 minutes, I think we can all find 5 minutes a week, 5 minutes a day, to come up with some interesting and creative and original compliments to give to the people around us, because they deserve it. Nobody's had enough of them. Nobody's ever said, I'm full up. I know I'm awesome. Save your sugar for somebody who needs it. Everybody needs more. And I think we owe it to one another to give them a little bit of effort in that direction. That is a version of the serious part of my speech that goes along with communication. There is one, of course, that goes along with responsibility as well. And it gets tailored depending on the specific message that you're looking for. I have had a very successful run with this show. I've done government functions, insurance, healthcare, education, manufacturing, agriculture, Catholic church fundraisers, you name it. I've actually had people hire me for multi-day conferences or keynote addresses or breakout sessions and then rehire me just to do entertainment at their holiday parties, because it's a really fun way to get what I hope is an important message across. I hope you've enjoyed it. I certainly hope that you enjoy listening to the other speakers that you hear from today. I'll be around all day. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer anything you have in greater detail. I want to thank you so much for coming today, and have a wonderful, wonderful time. My name's Jeff Havens.